YouTube, Melvin Quad Geekery, with a overview, summary, and review of Halloween Ends. Um, just keep in mind, this is less of a horror film or flick than a horror story that focuses on one set of characters and their response to trauma, as well as, of course, collective response and the responsibility of community. So, Jamie Lee Curtis is the main draw as Laurie Strode, and it definitely has aspects of George Fraser's Golden Bough in terms of her role in the film. It's more like Michael Myers really isn't vulnerable to anyone else because the idea of what he is as the boogeyman is tied up in Jamie Lee Curtis and Allison Nelson. So Jamie Lee Curtis is Laurie Strode and Allison Nelson. They're the final girls. They really do seem to have that ability to counter what he does. And there's a really good moment midway through the film where we understand that it does. She does have. It's very much like You Might Be the Killer. When you're dealing with a final girl, they can do all the things that the slasher does. They exist to take out the slasher. That's just part of the life cycle of a slasher. So, you know, you have this different approach. It definitely, it's very meta in that you open up with a year after the events of Halloween and Halloween Kills, and you have this new character, Corey Cunningham, who is essentially put on the path. Again, this has that Golden Bough aspect. Somebody else needs to take on that ambient evil, right? With Michael Myers gone, it just manifests everywhere. And this new guy, Corey Cunningham, he accidentally kills a child. He's then turned into the psycho babysitter. And the town, by their actions, essentially is trying to make him into the new Michael Myers. And flash forward several years, Laurie's trying to keep him from going down that path. And at first, it does seem to work. She tries to keep him from going down that path. The cop wants him to not go down that path. Even Allison basically falls in love with him because she sees that he was being made into something that he didn't want to be. She did, like, in the same way that she was made into a final girl, he's being made into another slasher. And ultimately, this circle completes. That he becomes the new slasher. He becomes a Halloween style killer. This is going to be a full spoiler. He does become the next Michael Myers. And but instead of him trying to become another Michael Myers, he wants to essentially break the cycle. He wants to leave, and he's doing things, both to basically destroy his old self so that he can then leave with Allison. I mean, your mileage may vary. However, the film has enough behind it that it really will likely make, if not more money than it might not. It probably won't make as much as Halloween. It will probably make more than Halloween Kills. In part because it's ending the entire cycle. The fact is, Allison falls in love with Corey, while Corey falls down the path of becoming another slasher. His goal is not to kill Allison, unlike what happens with Michael Myers, who just goes after Laurie for whatever reason. Thematically, that idea of the rules that are defined in Halloween Kills play out in Halloween Ends. When the town puts their fear, instead of in the boogeyman of Michael Myers, into Corey Cunningham, and then also into just this general hostility. You can see the path that he follows, and that does become important for understanding why this has it gets away from the normal formula, and it has to be, you have to see the flow of that, and what it means in terms of the kind of horror that they're presenting. So, he racks up, like, Corey Cunningham racks up a body count in a sequence, right? First is the accident we see at the beginning of the film. That was accidental homicide. Then he gets attacked by band kids. And, they are dorky. They are dorkish band kids. However, that atmosphere of darkness and hostility has them turn on him repeatedly. And they throw him, they essentially throw him off a ledge, off of a bridge, and he lands in front of the lair of Michael Myers. I'm telling you, it has that Golden Bough folk legend aspect to it, that they offer a new sacrifice to be turned into the receptacle of the evil of the town. That the infection the pieces fall in. Like, Laurie Strode has a conversation about the darkness that's external and the darkness that's internal. So the evil that's inside of everybody spreads, and most people aren't aware that they have it. But the evil that's external, everybody knows that they can get rid of that. And it's very much that Sin Eater aspect, that the slasher represents the external evil that also is a reflection of the evil within people. So the power that Michael Myers has is in part because of what was put upon him by other people from the evil that he had at the start. So he becomes increasingly, as he becomes more evil, he becomes more powerful. And that similar idea happens with Corey Cunningham. Like, he starts off having, accidentally killed a child. We get confirmation from someone else that knew him before that he wasn't the monster that he becomes after he encounters Michael Myers, from being offered to Michael Myers. So after he encounters Michael, he's changed. A metamorphosis starts. A homeless man that wants that power for himself confronts him and is then killed. This then sets him along the path, because now he's killed someone again, and it's built a taste for it. Next, he then brings another person. He lures somebody who means him harm into the area where Myers is, sacrifices him to build Myers' strength and also to build his own. He then kills Allison's boss to once again build more of a connection to her, sever more of her connections. I like that the movie frames him as a creep out of the gate with his suggestions on why she shouldn't let people do these things to her. And it's juxtaposed with a very on-point message later. It's you don't see Allison doing the kind of things that he's doing or that Michael Myers is doing, but we understand a bit more about how the rules of this work, with her being the final girl, having survived her encounter with Michael. And she is I got to get to the end of the fight. I got to get to the fight between Laurie and Michael and Myers, because that, and we have to go into his sequence of kills, of course. He kills the boss. Myers assists in killing the nurse that became the charge nurse. So Myers gets 3 kills in the film. 3 kills in the film. However, there are several others that happened with no one knowing about it. So several other people had gone missing prior So other people had been captured by him that fell in front. So this does indicate that what happened is not a unique event. That what happened to Corey Cunningham was stated by the homeless guy to have happened to other people. So other people fell in, and he's the only one to get out. Next, he then takes out, at this point, he's metamorphosized. He's now had sex with Allison. They want to run away together. He has a confrontation with Laurie. She shows that she can do that disappearing in front of people just like Myers, just like every other slasher, because she's confronted them. She's been changed by it. It's not explicitly supernatural, but we do see that she has an absurd amount of durability for an old woman. And that durability is then shown again from someone much younger. He takes out the band members when he gets the mask from Myers. He takes the mask from Myers because, he needs that. He wants that symbol. He wants that power for himself instead of making his own. He then turns, after he loses his adopted father, he turns on his mother. He takes out a radio DJ who was profiting off of the trauma of Michael Myers. He takes out the receptionist who was there. When he tries to confront Laurie with the mask of Michael Myers, it does not go well. I mean, almost no one thought that he was going to be able to pull it off, and he definitely doesn't. And he gets wrecked. And when he realizes that he's going to be exposed and she's never going to be with him, he's like, if I can't have her, and he was, he wanted to get, you realize then that he was actually trying to provoke Laurie into attacking him first. And when he realized that she wasn't going to kill him because she was tempted to, he then stabs himself in the neck. He knows he's done. He knows he's never going to be with her because he had been caught. He knows he was going to get caught if she didn't leave with him then. So he kills himself and to drive a wedge, but to force Allison to leave. The fact that she killed her boyfriend, that she had confronted her boyfriend, and the fact that he had become the focus weakened Michael Myers to the point that Myers needed him in order to get his power back, and there was no plan. His confrontation with Laurie ends with him, like, in this case, he was diminished, but she wasn't. So that's why people were like, how in the world does it look like she was winning most of the fight? And the reason she was winning most of the fight is what the power that people had given to Michael Myers had been transferred to Corey. And the result was he wasn't as powerful as he got. That as the town gets more hysterical, he gets more powerful. The more fear they give to him, the more powerful he is. He was already supernatural because of what he had already done, and for whatever random reason. This is when the message really hits home, because when Allison, goes inside and sees the fight at its climax, where you're not sure if Michael is trying to kill Laurie or possess her, Allison grabs Michael's arm and shatters it halfway down the forearm. She just snaps his forearm with her hands. It's like it. The fact is, it's very difficult to do that, because it's not like she's snapping it at the elbow. She snapped it at the forearm, which is the strongest part of the forearm, is in the center. So she had that momentary superhuman strength, mama bear and all that. But the fact that she was able to just snap that arm, and it's like, oh, she's a final girl too, and she's younger. They conclude it with Michael Myers' body being destroyed in a collective procession. They definitely leave the door open for a possible sequel based on how they define his powers. And they probably will try to restart the series without Jamie Lee Curtis. Her connection to Michael Myers is done. So she would no longer have that it factor. She would just have the experience of what happened. Thematically, I like that they moved away from the karma style of the slasher formula and moved back to the more cosmic horror kismet style that the original horror movie franchises all start off with. That it's not about you. You didn't do it, like the characters didn't do anything, they were just there, and this shit just happens. The later versions essentially make it a consequence of their actions that they're targeted, which creates a sense of karma, where it's either crimes from past lives, crimes from the current, like bad things you're doing in your current life, or things that are done with the wrong motivation. And the only way that the cycle is broken is when something is done with the right motivation, which is not based in selfishness. Going after the slasher with the goal of, I'm going to kill the slasher, is having the wrong motivation. Going after the slasher because they're going to hurt somebody is the right motivation. I do like that element to it. I definitely consider that aspect of how do you overcome Kismet is to break the cycle of karma. That Kismet will happen. It's doing what needs to be done with the right motivation that breaks the cycle. With that said, where would I rank this in terms of the Halloween movies? I would say the first one, 1978, 2018, the Halloween 4, and this movie probably ranked, it's better than Halloween Kills, even though there were a lot of kills, and it was a lot more bloody, and Halloween Kills was a lot bloodier. I would rank this movie probably around, I would say it's better than Halloween 4 because it's a much more closed loop. That they're not trying to just keep milking it beyond what it can do. That we're no longer going to have Michael Myers in the mask if anyone else takes it, and we have a completely different structure going ahead because this film is going to be very profitable. In terms of where I would rank it on an order of 1 to 5, 1 being absolutely horrible and 5 being it changes the way I see the world, or at least see the genre, I would put this at a 3.5. 3 is a decent film where it's usually, I would say a 3 to me is it's worth your money on a break-even basis. If you have that kind of money to spend on a movie, you will not feel that you wasted your money. You will, if there's something else that you might spend that $10 or $15 on, maybe not. So it's worth, I would say, a regular movie ticket, not necessarily a premium movie ticket. And if you can get the ticket at a discount, then it's a great value. So a 4 is something where you want to see it with friends, you want to see it multiple times. And a 5 is, like I said, it's somehow transformative. So 1 is just, it's horrible. You should have never, you should not even consider watching it. 2 is, unless there's a really steep discount or you're watching it for free, you're going to feel like you got burned. 3 is break even. 4 is, it's worth spending a little extra. And 5 is transformative. This is about 3.5. Have a great one.